There were some lawmen that were more interested in breaking the law than upholding it. Here's 5 rowdy lawmen of the Old West. Heck Thomas apprehended some of the most notorious outlaws of the Wild West, including members of the Doolin-Dalton gang. He began his working life serving as a courier in the Civil War in Virginia when he was just 12 years old. He joined the police force at the age of 17 in Atlanta and soon began making a name for himself as a fearless fighter. Heck spent time in Texas and in Dodge City, and in 1896, he led a posse that tracked down the Doolin gang, which had been robbing trains and banks in Kansas. They caught the leader of the gang, Bill Doolin, after a long pursuit, fatally wounding him after the robber tried to shoot his way out. Heck Thomas was responsible for arresting over 300 wanted men. He once collected 41 prisoners in a single episode, and he was wounded at least 6 times during his gunfights, but managed to live long enough to retire and live to old age. In May 1886, John Reynolds Hughes set out to discover who had stolen horses from his neighbors' ranches. He trailed them for close to a year before coming upon them in New Mexico, where he killed some of the horse thieves and captured the rest, before returning the horses to his neighbors. The exploit earned the attention of the Texas Rangers, who persuaded him to join up. Hughes then served as a Texas Ranger for over 28 years. When his captain was killed by bandits in 1893, Hughes was named as his successor, and his first act as captain was to take a group of his men to search the border until they found and killed all those responsible for the captain's death. Harry Wheeler had a variety of jobs before he was appointed the sheriff of Cochise County, Arizona, including in 1907, protecting striking miners from thugs hired by their employers. He was considered a friend of labor, and his popularity in the town grew. However, just 10 years later, when he was sheriff, he deputized and armed 2,000 men and sent them out at dawn to arrest striking miners, while he supervised the proceedings with a machine gun. In total, almost 1,200 miners were arrested, loaded onto cattle trucks, and transported into the New Mexico desert, where they were abandoned. Wheeler was indicted, along with 224 of his deputies, on charges of kidnapping, though these were later dropped. One of Wheeler's most notable exploits was a rock fight with a man who had been stalking an ex-girlfriend. Wheeler heard about the man's threat to kill the girl and her new husband and went to arrest him. The stalker, Jay Tracy, fired a shot which missed so narrowly that bullet went through Wheeler's coat. Both men exchanged gunfire. Wheeler was shot in the thigh while Tracy was shot 4 times. Feigning an empty gun, Tracy pretended to give himself up and then shot at Wheeler twice more. However, he wasn't a very good marksman and only ended up hitting Wheeler once in the foot. Being out of bullets himself, Wheeler resorted to heaving rocks at Tracy until the latter's wounds overcame him. Astonishingly, Tracy was not arrested for his actions, and the 2 men shook hands before Wheeler put him on a train to Tucson, which was unfortunate because Tracy was wanted for murder in Nevada. However, Tracy's injuries were such that he died on the train. Wheeler collected the reward money, which was $500, but gave it to the widow of one of Tracy's victims. Dave Ellison was appointed sheriff of Midland, Texas in 1888. at the age of 27, and he remained as sheriff until 1903 when he joined the Arizona Rangers. In Arizona, he shot and killed a criminal with the name of Three-Fingered Jack in a shootout. Ellison is best known, however, for leading the posse that captured and killed the Mexican revolutionary turned outlaw Pascual Orozco in 1915. Ellison is said to have been the most noted gunman in Texas. He was, however, also said to have a serious gambling problem, and there were several accusations made against him regarding the misappropriation of money. At these times, Ellison moved swiftly to another position in another town, always working as a lawman. This was presumably a no references required kind of job. Ellison, along with a colleague, was killed by a pair of cattle thieves whom they were preparing to testify against. They were sitting unarmed in the lobby of a hotel when the gunman burst in and shot them to death. Bill Tillman was born in Iowa, but moved to Kansas. When he was still a young man, Tillman became a hunter, and he claimed to have killed 12,000 bison in only 5 years, much to the annoyance of the local Native Americans, for whom this meant food. During an exchange in September 1872, Tillman is said to have killed 7 Cheyenne braves, and it wasn't his only scrape with the law. 2 years later, he just barely escaped being lynched after he was accused of murdering a man in Granada, Colorado. Later, in 1875, he opened a saloon in Dodge City, Kansas, and in 1878 he became the town's deputy sheriff. He is said to have collected more rewards for bringing in outlaws than anyone else. During his time as sheriff, he was accused of corruption and selling whiskey to the Native Americans. He was also arrested several times for running a brothel and facilitating gambling. Tillman was shot on November 1st, 1924, while trying to arrest a corrupt Prohibition officer. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to let me know what you thought in the comments, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the new episode. Thanks, and have a great day.